Stepmom promised not to wear inappropriate outfits to my wedding but showed up in bridal colors anyway, then tried to throw her own bouquet until my dad had enough and kicked her out. I never thought I'd be writing this, but I need advice about my stepmom Patricia, 52F, and her weird obsession with ruining weddings. I, 28F, have been engaged to my boyfriend Mark, 30M, for 6 months now. We're planning our wedding for next spring, but I'm terrified about what Patricia might pull. Let me give you some background. My dad Morris, 55M, married Patricia when I was 15. My mom died when I was 12, and dad remarried pretty quickly. Patricia came with 2 kids from her previous marriage, my stepbrother James, 32M, and stepsister Lisa, 29F. At first, everything seemed normal. Patricia was nice enough, though she always had this need to be the center of attention at family gatherings. The first red flag happened when I was 17. My cousin Mandy was getting married, and our whole family was invited. Patricia spent weeks talking about what she was going to wear. She kept showing me pictures of different dresses, asking my opinion. Most of them looked way too fancy for a wedding guest, but I didn't want to cause drama so I just nodded along. The day of Mandy's wedding, Patricia walked into the church wearing a cream-colored dress that was so close to white it made people gasp. The dress had lace details, a fitted bodice, and a flowing skirt that reached her ankles. She had her hair done in an elaborate updo with flowers, and she wore a pearl necklace that caught the light every time she moved. Everyone stared as she walked down the aisle to her seat. Mandy's mom looked like she wanted to throw something at her. After the ceremony, I heard Mandy's grandmother telling someone that Patricia's outfit was completely inappropriate. Patricia, however, seemed to love all the attention. She kept commenting on how many compliments she was getting on her dress. I didn't hear anyone actually compliment her, but she acted like she was the belle of the ball. That was just the beginning. Over the next few years, Patricia pulled similar stunts at every wedding we attended. My dad's brother got married 2 years later, and Patricia showed up in a silver sequin dress that belonged at a nightclub, not a daytime wedding. The bride was wearing a simple, elegant gown, and Patricia's outfit made her look overdressed and attention-seeking. Then James got engaged to his college girlfriend Rachel, 30F. Rachel is a sweet girl who works as a teacher. She's quiet and doesn't like confrontation. When they started planning their wedding, Rachel made it clear that she wanted a traditional ceremony with close family and friends. Patricia immediately started making the wedding about herself. She insisted on helping with all the planning, even though Rachel's mom was already handling most of it. Patricia would show up to dress fittings uninvited, giving her opinions on everything from the flowers to the menu. She kept suggesting changes that would make the wedding more elaborate and expensive. The worst part was Patricia's dress shopping. She took me along one day, claiming she needed help finding something appropriate. We went to 3 different stores, and every dress she tried on was either white, cream, or some other shade that was way too close to bridal colors. When I pointed this out, she laughed and said she was just trying to look her best for her son's big day. We finally found a navy blue dress that seemed reasonable. It was elegant but not too flashy, and definitely not bridal. Patricia agreed to buy it, and I thought the crisis was over. I was wrong. The week before James's wedding, Patricia started dropping hints about a surprise she had planned. She wouldn't tell anyone what it was, just kept saying that everyone would love it. Rachel looked nervous every time Patricia mentioned it, but James told her not to worry about his mom's dramatics. The morning of the wedding, I arrived early to help Rachel get ready. She was in the bridal suite at the venue, surrounded by her bridesmaids and her mom. Everyone was having a great time, doing hair and makeup, when Patricia knocked on the door. She walked in wearing a white cocktail dress with beaded details and a small train. It wasn't technically a wedding dress, but it was definitely wedding appropriate in the worst possible way. The room went completely silent. Rachel's face went pale, and her mom looked like she was about to explode. Rachel asked Patricia if she could please change into the navy dress they had picked out together. Patricia laughed and said this dress was much more festive and appropriate for such a special occasion. She said she wanted to look her best in all the photos, and the navy dress was too boring. Rachel started crying. Her bridesmaids tried to comfort her while her mom demanded that Patricia leave and change. Patricia refused, saying she had every right to wear whatever she wanted to her son's wedding. She said Rachel was being a bridezilla and trying to control what people wore. The argument went on for 20 minutes, with Patricia getting louder and more defensive. Finally, my dad showed up and convinced her to at least add a colorful scarf to make the dress look less bridal. It was a weak compromise, but Rachel was running out of time to get ready. The ceremony was tense. Patricia sat in the front row, and I could see people in the congregation staring at her outfit and whispering. During the reception, she made sure to position herself prominently in every photo opportunity. She even insisted on a special mother-son dance that wasn't originally planned. Rachel barely spoke to Patricia for the rest of the evening. The whole celebration fell off because of the drama that morning. James seemed oblivious to how upset his wife was, which made things even worse. 6 months later, Lisa got engaged to her boyfriend David, 31M. Lisa had watched what happened at James's wedding, and she was determined not to let her mom pull the same stunt. She had a conversation with Patricia early in the planning process, making it clear that she expected her to wear something appropriate and not cause any drama. Patricia agreed, but I could tell she wasn't happy about being called out. She kept making comments about how brides these days were too sensitive and controlling. She said that when she got married, people wore their best clothes to show respect for the occasion. Lisa's wedding was smaller than James's, held at a local country club. The week before the wedding, Lisa showed me a photo of the dress Patricia had bought. It was a lovely burgundy color, conservative cut, and perfect for a mother of the bride. I thought maybe Patricia had learned her lesson. I was wrong again. The day of the wedding, Patricia showed up wearing a completely different outfit. This time it was a champagne-colored dress with gold embellishments that caught the light like sequins. The dress was floor-length with a deep V-neck and open back. It looked like something you'd wear to a movie premiere, not your daughter's wedding. Lisa saw her mom and immediately pulled her aside. They had a heated conversation in the hallway, with Lisa demanding to know why Patricia wasn't wearing the burgundy dress. Patricia said she had decided the burgundy dress was too old-fashioned and didn't photograph well. She said she wanted to look glamorous for such an important day. Lisa threatened to ask her to leave if she didn't change. Patricia started crying, saying her daughter was embarrassing her in front of all the guests. She said she had spent a lot of money on this dress and wasn't going to waste it. My dad tried to mediate, but Patricia was being completely unreasonable. Eventually, Lisa gave up because the ceremony was about to start. She walked down the aisle looking beautiful, but I could see the tension in her face. Patricia spent the entire reception making sure everyone noticed her outfit, posing for photos and complimenting herself on how elegant she looked. The worst part was listening to Patricia later that evening. She told anyone who would listen about how much attention she was getting, how many people complimented her dress, and how she always tried to look her best for family events. She seemed completely unaware that people were talking about her for all the wrong reasons. Now it's my turn to get married, and I'm terrified. Mark and I have been together for 4 years, and we've been planning this wedding for months. We've booked a venue, hired a photographer, and sent out save the dates. Patricia has already started asking about dress shopping and making suggestions for the ceremony. I've watched her ruin 2 weddings in our family, and I don't want her to ruin mine. But I also don't want to cause a huge family fight or make my dad choose between his wife and his daughter. Mark thinks I should just tell her up front what I expect, but I've seen how well that worked for Lisa. I arranged to meet Patricia for lunch last week. I picked a quiet restaurant where we could talk privately. I had planned out what I wanted to say, trying to be diplomatic but firm about my boundaries. I started by telling her how much it meant to me that she would be there for my wedding. I said I wanted everyone to feel comfortable and enjoy the celebration. Then I mentioned that I had noticed some tension at James and Lisa's weddings, and I wanted to make sure we avoided any similar issues. Patricia immediately got defensive. She said she didn't know what I was talking about, that she had always dressed appropriately for family events. She said people were just jealous because she took care of herself and looked good for her age. I tried to explain that wearing white or very light colors to weddings was traditionally considered inappropriate because it could upstage the bride. Patricia laughed and said that was an old-fashioned rule that didn't apply anymore. She said modern brides should be confident enough not to worry about what other people wore. I told her that regardless of whether the rule was old-fashioned, it was important to me that she respect my wishes for my own wedding. I asked if she would be willing to avoid wearing white, cream, champagne, or any other light colors that might be mistaken for bridal colors. Patricia stared at me for a long moment, then said I was being ridiculous and controlling. She said she had never worn white to a wedding, only elegant colors that complemented her complexion. When I reminded her about the cream dress at Mandy's wedding and the champagne dress at Lisa's wedding, she insisted those weren't white and therefore were perfectly appropriate. The conversation got more heated from there. Patricia said she couldn't believe I was trying to dictate what she could wear to my wedding. She said she had always supported me and been a good stepmother, and this was how I repaid her. She started crying and said I was treating her like she was some kind of troublemaker. I tried to stay calm and explain that I wasn't trying to control her, just asking for this one consideration. I said I wanted her to feel beautiful and elegant at my wedding, but I also wanted to feel like the bride at my own celebration. Patricia said I was being selfish and insecure. She said confident brides didn't worry about other people's outfits because they knew they would be the most beautiful woman there. She said maybe I should work on my self-esteem instead of trying to control what other people wore. That comment really got to me, but I tried not to show it. I said I wasn't insecure, just asking for basic respect and consideration. I pointed out that she had caused drama at both James and Lisa's weddings, and I didn't want that to happen at mine. Patricia denied causing any drama. She said Rachel and Lisa were both bridezillas who were impossible to please. She said she had tried to look nice for their special days, and they had both overreacted to perfectly appropriate outfits. She said if they had problems with her choices, that was their issue, not hers. I realized this conversation wasn't going anywhere productive. Patricia was determined to see herself as the victim in every situation, and she wasn't going to take responsibility for her past behavior or agree to any boundaries for my wedding. I decided to try a different approach. I told her I had already bought her a dress as a gift, something I thought would look beautiful on her for the wedding. I said I wanted to give it to her early so she could see if any alterations were needed. Patricia perked up at the mention of a gift. She asked what the dress looked like, and I described a navy blue dress with silver beading that I had actually purchased the day before our lunch. It was elegant and sophisticated, definitely appropriate for a mother of the bride. Patricia seemed interested until I mentioned the color. She made a face and said navy blue was too dark and somber for a wedding. She said she preferred lighter, more festive colors that would look good in photos. She said she appreciated the gesture, but she had already started looking at dresses and had found some beautiful options. I asked her to describe the dresses she was considering. She pulled out her phone and showed me photos of several options she had saved. Every single dress was either white, cream, or pale pink. One was clearly a mother of the bride dress in ivory silk. Another was a white cocktail dress with lace sleeves that looked almost bridal. I pointed out that all the dresses she had chosen were very light colors, exactly what I had asked her to avoid. Patricia said they weren't white, they were ivory, cream, and blush pink. She said those were completely different colors and perfectly appropriate for a wedding guest. I tried one more time to explain why this was important to me. I said I understood she wanted to look beautiful, but I was asking her to choose from darker colors for this one event. I suggested jewel tones like emerald, sapphire, or burgundy that would be stunning on her. Patricia said she looked terrible in dark colors and refused to wear something that made her feel ugly at her stepdaughter's wedding. She said she had never asked me to change my outfit for any event, and she couldn't believe I was being so demanding about her clothes. The lunch ended badly. Patricia stormed out, saying she needed to think about whether she even wanted to come to a wedding where she wasn't welcome to dress how she wanted. She said maybe it would be better if she just stayed home rather than deal with my unreasonable demands. I sat in the restaurant for another 20 minutes, trying to process what had just happened. I had expected resistance, but I hadn't expected her to be so completely unwilling to compromise or see my perspective. When I got home, I called my dad to give him a heads up about the conversation. He sighed and said he wasn't surprised. He said Patricia had been complaining about my attitude ever since I got engaged, claiming I was becoming a bridezilla like Rachel and Lisa. My dad asked if I could just let it go and focus on enjoying my wedding day. He said Patricia's outfit wasn't worth ruining our relationship over. He said people would know I was the bride regardless of what anyone else wore. I told him it wasn't just about the outfit, it was about respect. I said Patricia had shown a pattern of deliberately choosing inappropriate outfits and causing drama at family weddings. I said I didn't want my wedding day to be remembered for another one of her attention-seeking stunts. My dad said he understood my concerns, but he also said Patricia wasn't going to change. He said I had to decide if I wanted to keep fighting about this or find a way to work around it. Mark was supportive when I told him what happened. He said we should consider hiring security for the wedding to handle any issues that might come up. He also suggested having a backup plan in case Patricia showed up in something completely inappropriate. I'm not sure what to do next. Part of me wants to uninvite Patricia entirely, but I know that would cause a huge family rift. My dad would be devastated, and it would probably affect my relationship with James and Lisa too. But I also don't want to spend my wedding day worrying about what Patricia is going to do or dealing with the drama she creates. I've watched her ruin 2 other weddings in our family, and I don't want mine to be the third. After the disastrous lunch conversation I wrote about, Patricia didn't speak to me for almost a month. She refused to answer my calls and ignored my text messages. When I asked my dad about it, he said she was hurt by my accusations and needed time to process. During this silent treatment, I heard from my stepsister Lisa that Patricia was telling everyone I had been cruel and unreasonable to her. According to Lisa, Patricia was claiming I had attacked her appearance and tried to humiliate her in public. She was also saying I had uninvited her from the wedding, which wasn't true. Lisa called me to get my side of the story. When I explained what actually happened at lunch, she wasn't surprised. She said Patricia had been doing the same thing after her own wedding, telling people that Lisa had been a bridezilla who tried to control everyone's outfits. Lisa also told me something I didn't know before. Apparently, Patricia had been planning her outfit for my wedding since before I even got engaged. She had bookmarked several white and cream dresses online, telling Lisa they would be perfect for when Sarah finally got married. This meant her behavior wasn't just thoughtless, it was completely premeditated. 3 weeks ago, Patricia finally broke her silence by calling my dad and demanding he talk to me about my attitude. She said she couldn't believe his daughter was treating her so poorly after everything she had done for our family. She threatened not to come to the wedding at all if I didn't apologize for my behavior. My dad called me that same day, asking if I could just apologize to keep the peace. He said Patricia was genuinely hurt and confused by my accusations. He said she truly believed she had never done anything wrong at previous weddings, and my criticism had blindsided her. I told my dad I wasn't going to apologize for setting reasonable boundaries. I said Patricia had a documented history of wearing inappropriate outfits to family weddings, and I had every right to ask her not to do the same at mine. My dad got frustrated with me then. He said I was being stubborn and making this whole situation more difficult than it needed to be. He said Patricia was family now, and family members should support each other instead of creating unnecessary drama. That conversation really bothered me. I realized my dad had been enabling Patricia's behavior for years, always asking everyone else to accommodate her instead of addressing the real problem. 2 weeks ago, I made a decision that I'm still not sure about. I called Patricia directly and asked if we could meet to discuss the situation. I said I wanted to find a way to move forward that would work for everyone. Patricia agreed to meet, but she insisted on bringing my dad along as a mediator. We met at my dad's house on a Saturday afternoon. Patricia had clearly prepared for this conversation, because she had a whole speech ready about how hurt she was by my accusations. She said she had always tried to be a good stepmother to me, supporting me through college and treating me like her own daughter. She said she couldn't understand why I was attacking her now, trying to exclude her from my wedding and embarrass her in front of the family. I tried to explain again that I wasn't attacking her, just asking for consideration about her outfit choice. I said I had watched her cause tension at James and Lisa's weddings, and I wanted to avoid that at my own celebration. Patricia insisted she had never caused any tension. She said Rachel and Lisa were both difficult brides who had unrealistic expectations. She said she had dressed appropriately for both weddings and didn't understand why everyone was so critical of her choices. My dad jumped in then, saying we needed to find a compromise. He suggested that Patricia show me her outfit choice ahead of time, so we could discuss any concerns before the wedding day. Patricia reluctantly agreed to this, but she made it clear she thought it was an unreasonable request. She said she shouldn't have to get approval for her clothing choices from anyone, even the bride. We also established some other ground rules. Patricia agreed not to make any special requests for photos or dances at the reception. She also agreed not to give a speech unless specifically asked by Mark or me. These boundaries seemed minimal to me, but Patricia acted like I was asking for huge sacrifices. She kept sighing and making comments about how different weddings were in her day, when people weren't so sensitive about every little thing. Last week, Patricia sent me photos of the dress she had chosen for my wedding. It was a pale pink dress with beaded details and a flowing skirt. While it wasn't white, it was definitely in the range of colors I had asked her to avoid. The pink was so light it was almost cream, and the style was very formal and attention-grabbing. I called her to discuss the dress choice. I said the color was very close to what I had asked her to avoid, and I wondered if she had any other options. Patricia got defensive immediately, saying the dress was pink, not white, and therefore completely appropriate. She said she had spent a lot of money on this dress and wasn't going to return it just because I had unrealistic expectations about wedding guest attire. She said the dress was beautiful and elegant, and she was going to wear it regardless of my opinion. I pointed out that we had agreed she would show me her outfit choice so we could discuss any concerns. I said this was exactly the kind of situation we were trying to avoid. Patricia said she had shown me the dress as promised, but that didn't mean I got to veto her choice. She said she was a grown woman who could dress herself appropriately for any occasion. The conversation ended with Patricia hanging up on me after saying she was tired of my controlling behavior. She said she was going to wear whatever she wanted to my wedding, and I could either accept it or deal with the consequences. When I told Mark about this conversation, he was furious. He said we should uninvite Patricia entirely rather than deal with her drama on our wedding day. He said his family would never dream of behaving this way, and he couldn't understand why mine was so dysfunctional. I'm torn about what to do. My wedding is in 6 weeks, and I still don't have a resolution to the situation. Patricia is clearly planning to wear an inappropriate outfit, and she's made it clear she doesn't care about my feelings or boundaries. My dad is pressuring me to just let it go and focus on enjoying my day. But I know from watching James and Lisa's weddings that Patricia's behavior will create tension and drama that will affect the whole celebration. I've been considering some extreme options. Mark suggested hiring someone to handle Patricia if she shows up in something inappropriate. Another friend suggested having a backup plan, like asking the photographer to avoid including Patricia in certain shots. But all of these solutions feel like I'm planning around her bad behavior instead of addressing it directly. I don't want to spend my wedding day managing Patricia's drama or worrying about what she's going to do next. I never thought planning a wedding would involve this much family conflict. All I wanted was to celebrate my marriage with the people I love, but Patricia has turned it into a power struggle that's affecting my relationship with my dad and creating stress in my engagement. I'm starting to understand why some couples just elope. Update 3: My wedding was 3 weeks ago, and I wanted to give everyone a final update on the Patricia situation. The day turned out very differently than I expected, but not in the way I was prepared for. 2 weeks before the wedding, I made a decision that surprised everyone, including myself. I called Patricia and told her I was withdrawing my objections to her outfit choice. I said she could wear whatever made her happy, and I would focus on enjoying my own day. Patricia seemed suspicious of this sudden change, but she accepted it. She said she was glad I had finally come to my senses and stopped trying to control everyone around me. The truth was, I hadn't given up on managing the situation. Mark and I had come up with a plan that we didn't share with anyone in my family. We hired a wedding coordinator who specialized in handling difficult family situations. Her name was Jennifer, and she had dealt with similar problems at other weddings. Jennifer's job was to monitor Patricia throughout the day and manage any issues that came up. We gave her photos of Patricia and a detailed briefing about her past behavior. Jennifer assured us she could handle whatever Patricia might do without causing a scene. We also made some strategic decisions about the wedding timeline and seating arrangements. We scheduled the ceremony for late afternoon, which meant Patricia wouldn't have as many opportunities to make a grand entrance. We also seated her at a table with my dad's elderly aunts, who we knew wouldn't tolerate any attention-seeking behavior. The morning of the wedding, I was getting ready at the venue with my bridesmaids and my maid of honor when Patricia arrived. She was carrying a garment bag and asked if she could use one of the rooms to get ready. I told her she could use the small room next to the bridal suite. About an hour later, she emerged wearing the pale pink dress she had shown me in photos. It was exactly as inappropriate as I had expected, very light, very formal, and definitely attention-grabbing. But I had prepared myself for this moment. Instead of getting upset, I complimented her on how nice she looked and went back to my own preparations. My bridesmaids were impressed by how calm I stayed, not knowing about the backup plan Mark and I had arranged. Patricia seemed disappointed by my lack of reaction. She kept making comments about her dress, how much she had spent on it, and how many compliments she was expecting to receive. She was clearly trying to get a rise out of me, but I refused to take the bait. The ceremony went smoothly at first. Patricia walked in with my dad and took her seat in the front row. Her dress definitely stood out among the other guests, most of whom were wearing darker, more conservative colors. I heard some murmurs from the congregation, but I tried to ignore them and focus on Mark. During the vows, however, Patricia started becoming disruptive. She was dabbing at her eyes with a white lace handkerchief and making soft crying sounds that were loud enough for everyone to hear. She kept adjusting her position in her seat, making sure her dress was displayed prominently. This was where Jennifer, our wedding coordinator, earned her fee. She quietly moved to a position where she could monitor Patricia without being obvious about it. When Patricia started becoming too distracting, Jennifer discreetly approached her and whispered something that made her settle down. Later, Jennifer told me she had simply complimented Patricia's dress and asked if she minded moving slightly so the photographer could get better shots of the ceremony. Patricia was so flattered by the attention that she cooperated immediately. The real drama happened during the reception. Patricia had apparently planned several attention-grabbing moments throughout the evening. She tried to give an impromptu toast during dinner, but Jennifer intercepted her before she could reach the microphone. She also attempted to start a special mother-stepson dance with Mark, but Jennifer redirected her to dance with my dad instead. The breaking point came during the bouquet toss. I had specifically chosen not to do a bouquet toss because I thought it was outdated, but Patricia apparently had other plans. She had brought her own bouquet, a small arrangement of pink roses that matched her dress, and she tried to throw it to the single women at the reception. This was so bizarre and inappropriate that even the other guests were openly staring. Jennifer quickly stepped in and guided Patricia back to her seat, explaining that the bride and groom hadn't planned a bouquet toss for this reception. Patricia became upset and started arguing with Jennifer, claiming she was just trying to add some traditional elements to the celebration. The argument was getting louder and drawing more attention, which was exactly what I had been trying to avoid. That's when something unexpected happened. My dad, who had been watching this whole scene unfold, finally stepped in. He took Patricia by the arm and told her they were leaving. He said her behavior was embarrassing and inappropriate, and he wasn't going to let her ruin his daughter's wedding day. Patricia protested, saying she was just trying to participate in the celebration. But my dad was firm. He said they were going home immediately, and Patricia could think about her behavior on the drive. They left before the cake cutting, which was actually a relief. The rest of the reception was wonderful, without any drama or tension. Our guests were able to relax and enjoy themselves, and Mark and I could focus on celebrating our marriage. The next day, my dad called to apologize for Patricia's behavior. He said he had finally realized how disruptive and inappropriate she had been, not just at my wedding but at James and Lisa's weddings too. He said he was embarrassed that it had taken him so long to see the pattern. My dad told me he had a long conversation with Patricia on the drive home. He explained that her behavior was unacceptable and that she needed to apologize to me, James, Lisa, and their spouses for the drama she had caused at their weddings. Patricia initially refused, saying she had done nothing wrong. But my dad was unusually firm with her. He said if she couldn't take responsibility for her actions and make amends with the family, he would have to reconsider their relationship. This ultimatum seemed to get through to Patricia in a way that nothing else had. A week after the wedding, she called me to apologize. She said she hadn't realized how her outfit choices and behavior had affected other people's special days. She said she was sorry for causing stress during my wedding planning and for being disruptive at the reception. The apology felt genuine, though I'm still cautious about trusting that she's really changed. Actions speak louder than words, and it will take time to see if Patricia can actually modify her behavior at future family events. James and Lisa have both received similar apologies from Patricia, though they're both skeptical about whether she means it. Lisa said she'll believe Patricia has changed when she sees it, preferably at someone else's wedding first. As for Mark and me, we're just glad the wedding is over and we can move on with our married life. The whole experience taught us a lot about setting boundaries and managing difficult family members. It also showed us the importance of having a backup plan when dealing with people who refuse to respect reasonable requests. I'm sharing this final update because I know other people deal with similar family dynamics. Sometimes the only way to handle someone who won't respect boundaries is to plan around their behavior rather than trying to change them. It's not ideal, but it can be effective. Our marriage is off to a great start, and we're looking forward to building our own family traditions that don't involve drama or attention-seeking behavior. And if Patricia ever reverts to her old ways at future family events, at least we'll know we tried our best to address the situation maturely and directly.